Hi, my name is Joel Moore.
And my name is Bobby Bullock.
And this is MCTV Live.
That's right, Joel, and we have an A1 show planned for you today. That's for you, Mr. B.
Okay, we're gonna go to our spectacular opening credits done for us by the beautiful Catherine Fritz.
Yeah, sure.
This is the best part of the show. I mean, come on, when I come up on scene?
Yeah, I feel sorry for those guys and gals in the control room.
Yeah, so do I, when you come on. Because when I come on, people swoon.
Whatever, think what you want. Anyways,
credits.
let's go to the...
Let's go.
Portions of the day's programming are reproduced by means of electrical transcriptions or tape recordings.
Wow, wonderful credits. What did you think, Joel? Joel, wake up.
Sorry, I was up all night on a hot date.
Joel.
Editing with friends?
Joel.
Editing alone?
Tell the truth.
Sleeping on the keyboard. Again.
That's what I thought.
Good job, Bobby. Way to ruin the moment.
Yeah, you have a lot of those moments, don't you?
I'm lonely.
Aw, me too.
Well, now that embarrassment is over, let's go to that MCTV promotional video done by Derek, Justin, and Josh.
Here it is.
MCTV essentially is a high school program at Mortonville Community High School that allows students to put together a television show once every 2 weeks.
I think I chose MCTV as the course because at the time I was really interested in going off and being an actress. So I figured, you know, get some experience on what goes on behind the camera as well. But as I started to take it, I found out there was, I don't know, there's so much to it, it's so interesting, and you actually get this project when you're finished on something, and I love doing it. I don't know why, I hate computers, and I sit in front of a computer for at least 6 hours a day sometimes, but I love every second of it.
Wow, that was really interesting. I didn't even know we did all that stuff. I mean, hey, I don't even know what DNC is, or XLR, or ALL. I'm dumb.
Well, I'm not going to disagree with that. Because that's mature.
Whatever.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, you're mean.
Anyway, let's introduce the next piece, shall we? If we can continue without any more imbecilic remarks from you.
Yeah, we sent Andrew and MJ into the field to ask members of the student body what Remembrance Day means to them.
Yep, well, let's see that piece now. It's good.
Remembrance Day is a day on which we remember those who fought for our freedom and died fighting for those who they had never met.
I think of liberation and I think of justice, but it also makes kind of sad because I think of all the people who have died, so it makes me kind of happy at the same time.
Remembrance Day means to me a day of reflection, a day to think about the people who have lost their lives and their families that lost their loved ones on both sides of the lines. It's a day to think about our freedom and the costs of it, and just the destruction of war and how silly it can be.
Hobbies where you put your donation in.
Okay, Remembrance Day reminds me of the time of year in the fall when we always remember the people who have lost their lives. So that we have the lifestyle that we have in Canada today.
I think that Remembrance Day is a great Canadian national holiday for people to get together and to remember those who have represent Canada with its fight for freedom.
Remembrance Day reminds me of my grandfather because he died 2 years ago and he also fought in the war. I miss him very much and I hope he's okay and happy.
That was deep.
It most certainly was.
We never really stop and think about all the sacrifices that were made so we can live as free as we do and do what we want.
Just think, if that war hadn't been fought and we were under dictatorship, we wouldn't have the television shows, the video games, or the great fast food we have today.
No, we probably wouldn't.
We really should think about that more often, shouldn't we?
Yes, we should.
Now back to the topic of the show.
Next piece is a music video done by Catherine Fritz of the Train song Hopeless. Here it is.
I hopelessly helplessly wonder why everything I change around me. I tell it to your face, but you lost your face along the way. And I'd say it on the phone if I thought you were alone. Why do things have to change? You don't need my pictures on your wall. You say you need new ones. You don't need my secret midnight call. Hey, it's me. I guess you need new ones. Is anybody waiting at home for you? 'Cause it's time that we'll tell if it's heaven, if it's hell, or if it's anybody waiting at home for you. 'Cause it's time that we'll tell this tale. You're reading out up and down, wonder if you're lost or found, but I got my hands on you. Are you strong enough to toe the line? Are you gonna make me yours? Or do I make you mine? I'm in and out, I'm up and down, wonder if I'm lost or found, but I need your hands on me now. You don't need my pictures on your wall. You say you need new ones. You don't need my secret midnight call. I guess you need new ones. Is anybody waiting at home? 'Cause it's time that we'll tell if it's heaven, if it's hell, or if it's anybody waiting at home for you. 'Cause it's time that we'll tell this tale.
Joel, what are you doing?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was picking up the piece of that poor guy's broken heart.
Oh yeah, I guess someone should do that.
Yeah, Kat does a lot of those heart-wrenching videos, and ouch, that just hurt.
Was
She
he
ripped up the
stalking
note.
Was he stalking her?
That's what I got. Well, anyway, back to the show.
Sure.
Our next piece is going to be Booter and DeWalt the Movies, which is from now on a regular piece. Every episode he's going to do it. Let's go.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You've been a wonderful audience.
Hello and welcome to Booter and DeWald at the Movies. I'm Booter, he's DeWald, and our system is based on 5 reels for those of you that are tuning in for the first time, as this is our first episode. And with that in mind, here's our first review.
Our first movie is Punch Drunk Love, written, directed, and produced by Paul Taylor Anderson, the fellow who brought us the more than controversial Magnolia. From the moment this movie begins, you know you're in for something different, as it tells the tale of Barry Egan, played by Adam Sandler. Egan is a small business owner who makes Cinderella's problems look normal, with 7 abusive sisters who have kept him emotionally sheltered and unable to find true love. Enter the picture Lena Leonard, played by Emily Watson, a friend of one of Egan's sisters who expresses her interest for him. With that, their unexpected romantic journey begins. Well, I give this movie 2 reels out of 5, and the one of the good things that I can say about this movie is that there were no frogs. I found it disjointed. I found it confusing. That's what I felt about it.
I agree with you. I gave it 2.5 out of 5. The shots were way too long. Things weren't happening. You'd have 40 seconds, and then you'd be sitting there, and then you'd wait 40 seconds for a phone to ring. I have to disagree with you on the fact it was disjointed. I think near the end it started to pick up momentum. At the beginning it just took too long to get to the point of what it was trying to make, and I think the ending was kind of redeemed itself a bit, but I think a lot of people are going to be turned off by the time they get to that part of the movie. They're not going to be interested by that point.
Well, we watched the movie, you know, like there was 20 or 30 people that did leave early, and maybe that's kind of...
and it was a free movie, by the way. So
worth every penny we didn't pay.
Our next movie also features Emily Watson. As the third one in the Hannibal trilogy, Red Dragon once again brings Sir Anthony Hopkins to the screen as the psychotic Dr. Lecter. With an all-star cast that includes Ed Norton, Ralph Fiennes, and Harvey Keitel, Red Dragon is set just before Silence of the Lambs and follows the story of Agent Will Graham, played by Norton. 3 years after capturing Lecter and retiring from the FBI, Graham is asked to come back and solve one last case. Graham is forced to consult his former nemesis in order to bring the killer in. I really enjoyed this movie. I'm a huge fan of Silence of the Lambs. After the last movie, Hannibal, I was totally turned off from the whole Hannibal Lecter series. But with this one, I think they've really redeemed themselves, and I'm going to give this one a 4.5 out of 5. The reason I didn't give it a 5 out of 5 is simply it is very similar in structure to Silence of the Lambs. I think that's really the only thing it's got going against it.
I agree wholeheartedly. I think that it's Hollywood has done a tremendous job in the past of bringing certain aspects of the horror, the thriller genre, not necessarily showing you somebody's brains being eaten or somebody's guts being ripped out. I think the idea that most of the scenes in here were implied, but it still scared the crap out of you. I think there was times where you knew it was going to happen, and you were on the edge of your seat, and Tally did a phenomenal job of keeping us interested, keeping us scared,
keeping it true to the original. Of Harris's vision of the book.
Of the book, exactly. And I gave it 5 reels out of 5 because it did what Hollywood's supposed to do. It scared the crap out of us. Our next review is the mystery thriller The Truth About Charlie, starring Mark Wahlberg and Tandy Newton. The Truth About Charlie follows the story of a young Parisian woman played by Tandy Newton, who soon discovers that her husband is dead. She is soon wanted by the police, the U.S. government, and a group of ex-military types who all seem to be after the $6 million her dead husband reportedly stole. Add to the mix a mysterious man, played by Mark Wahlberg, who comes to her aid, and you have the making of a decent thriller. And it was a decent thriller, and I felt that it probably warranted about a 4 reels out of 5. It kept us in suspense. There was at times in the movie when you didn't know if this guy had done it or she had done it, or who the bad guy was, or if he was a bad guy, or exactly what anybody was involved in the movie. It got a little confusing at times, and probably hurt what I felt was a decent effort by Jonathan Demme, who did Silence of the Lambs, and I felt that 4 is probably justified.
I enjoyed it, and I'm a big fan of Jonathan Demme. I mean, he, like you said, he directed, produced, and wrote this, but there were some problems with it. I mean, I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. I really enjoyed like the cinematic aspect. I thought it was very clever. The cinematography, considerably different than what you see in a lot of movies. But considering the all-star cast, I mean, we have people like Tim Robbins, and I really think that Tim Robbins, you know, his talents kind of went to waste in this one. I know he was a kind of a smaller character, but I've seen a lot better performances from Tim in the past, and it was missing something as far as the story, I think, was concerned. There wasn't enough, I think, emotion between the characters. I didn't really kind of buy into that. But I did get swept away with the backdrop in Paris. I mean, it's a great place to have that kind of a storyline, and I thought the cinematography was amazing, and that's really what kind of kept me going through this movie.
And that's one of the things that I found a little distracting, was the cinematography. It was the angle shots and the jump cuts and things like that. I felt it a little distracting, but again, as we said, it was a decent thriller.
Our next movie is Sweet Home Alabama, starring America's sweetheart Reese Witherspoon, who plays a New York fashion designer, Melanie Carmichael. When her character suddenly finds herself engaged to the city's most eligible bachelor, Melanie must confront her secret past in Alabama, including her redneck husband that she married in high school, who refuses to divorce her. Bound and determined to end their contentious relationship once and for all, Melanie heads back to Alabama to set things right before her new fiancé or his unapproving mother, played by Candice Bergen, finds out. All right, how can I describe Sweet Home Alabama? Well, it's the old, poor girl, does good, has to confront her past. It's been done. And I mean, Reese Witherspoon did a fairly decent job, I think, but it's been done too many times. And I mean, if you're going to do a formula like this, you've got to add something to it if you're going to make it stand out. And for that reason, I only gave it 3 out of 5. I mean, I think the best star of this movie was the dog.
Well, you know, there's nothing wrong with a good coon dog, as the Beverly Hillbillies found out.
True enough.
True enough. I disagree a little bit. I like Reese Witherspoon, and it was good to see Pat Dempsey back in the movies. I haven't seen him for a long time.
Exactly,
and the thing I liked about it is Reese plays the hometown girl, and you know, that leaves. She goes to New York City. She becomes a fashion designer. She comes back, and while she's confronting her past, there was a lot of truth in what she was doing. There was some passion with respect to you know, talking to her old friends and how they were, and when they started to turn on her. When she turned on them, that's the way people are, and I think that aided to what was going on. I think I'm going to go with about 3.5 reels out of 5.
All right, well, let's take a look at the home movies reviews for this week.
New to home video this week is Insomnia, the murder mystery starring Robin Williams, Al Pacino, and Hilary Swank. Directed by Christopher Nolan of Memento fame, Insomnia tells the story of Will Dormer, a LA homicide detective played by Pacino, who's dispatched to a small Alaskan town to investigate the murder of a local teen. Upon arriving, Dormer finds himself unable to sleep due to the 24-hour continual summer daylight. Working alongside a local detective played by Swank, Dormer is soon caught up in a web of lies, blackmail, and suspicion while attempting to catch the killer, a local author named Walter Finch, played convincingly by Robin Williams. My take on Insomnia is the as a suspense mystery murder thriller. It lacked a little bit. I like Pacino's performance. The idea that he was he was, you know, the struggling cop from LA trying to run away from some problems, and the idea that the 24-hour sunlight and him not sleeping for days on end would take him to the edge. But there just was a little bit missing in this movie, and I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 for some minor flaws, and you know, here and there it just didn't carry enough weight for me.
Okay, well, for me, this is a movie that I thought was probably the surprise movie for me this year. I mean, I went to this one in the theaters, and I loved this. I mean, the cast, the locale, the shooting, everything clicked in this movie, and I really enjoyed it, and I think it is one of the best movies of the year, and I gave it a 5 out of 5.
I just missed a few things in it, I guess. I must have nodded off at those points.
You must have had your hat on. You must have been your Leafs hat. You know, you didn't see half the screen probably with that brim of your hat.
Could have been a cell phone in the corner too.
Could have been. Well, maybe it was the people yelling in the audience.
It could have been the people yelling.
Anyways, our next home video review is Enough, starring Jennifer Lopez and Billy Campbell. In this thriller, Lopez discovers that the husband of her dreams, Mitch, isn't the man that she thought he was. With the help of her friends, she and her daughter try escaping the abusive relationship, only to find Campbell's character hot in pursuit. Fearing for the safety of her daughter, she decides that there's only one way to end the relationship, to take matters into her own hands. Well, the name of this movie is very appropriate. Enough already. It's just... The trailer gave way too much away. There's really no reason to go see this movie. If you've seen the trailer, you know what happens. And that's a problem with a lot of movies nowadays. I cannot stand it when they give the whole plot away. And that's you, Mr. Zemeckis, if you're listening right now. You give them way too many away, although Robert didn't direct this movie.
No.
But
no.
The director of this movie should be, for shame on you for giving the plot away. There really wasn't anything that kept me surprised in this movie. And I just did not enjoy this movie at all. And I give it a 1 out of 5. I just think it was a brutal movie.
But I liked her performance. I think she did an equally as good a job as what Julia Roberts did in Sleeping with the Enemy.
I don't agree with that.
Well, I think that the way she fought back, and I think the instead of running away from it like Julia did in her movie, I think the director and the writer had enough sense to say, okay, enough already. I'm going to stop and I'm going to fight back. And,
sure, no, and it empowers women, and that's
yes.
true enough, and that's a good thing.
Now,
to
whether
see,
you do it with fighting or not, I don't know. If there's too much violence,
it's not even that. I don't think that's the problem. I think what really kills this movie is the fact that it's giving it away.
Yeah, and the trailer does do a bad job.
Yeah, and I mean,
trailers aside, I gave it 2.5 out of 5.
All right, fair enough. We can agree to disagree in this case. I guess.
Next we have Big Trouble, starring a mammoth cast including the likes of Tim Allen, Rene Russo, Tom Sizemore, Janine Garofalo, Patrick Warburton, and Jason Lee. Written by Pulitzer Prize winner Dave Barry, Big Trouble follows a chain of events inspired by the arrival of a mysterious suitcase in Miami. Corrupt business owner Arthur Herc wants to get his hands on it, while at the same time, 2 hitmen are trying to take him down. To add even more layers to this already complicated plot, 2 thieves decide to steal the case and lead a Miami police team and 2 FBI agents on a wild goose chase around the city, while at the same time, Herc's wife, played by Russo, decides to look for love in the arms of another man, played by none other than Tim Allen. Confused? Don't let that discourage you from watching this fun romp. Well, I enjoyed Big Trouble. I don't mind saying that out loud. I know a lot of people knocked this movie. A lot of the critics didn't like the movie, I know that it was knocked back because of the 911, because of all the shooting and the comedic violence that was in the movie. But I just cannot not enjoy a movie by Tim Allen. I think he's a great comic. He's witty. He's charming. Throw in Rene Russo and Sizemore and one of the unsung comedic females in the business, Janine Garofalo. I think it added up to a decent movie. It's worth the watch. I gave it 3.5 reels out of 5 because it kept me entertained. It kept me interested. Academy Award material? Definitely not. Worth the $4 at the rental store? You betcha.
The time that a movie gets an Academy Award for hitting a goat, I'm sorry. At that point, it's all over, folks. When you hit a goat to get an Academy Award, it's all over. But I do agree with you. I gave it 3.5 reels out of 5. I mean, there were so many layers going on. You had kind of in-jokes, different parts of the movie, all happening at once, and it just worked. And the way they melded all the stories together, and that's a tough thing to do. And
Barry Sonnenfeld, the Men in Black fame and things like that.
Get Shorty. He's done some really good movies in the past.
It's just one of the movies that you can go and you can sit down and you can just enjoy.
Yeah, for sure.
You don't have to worry about plots or anything like that. Everything's in front of you. Maybe a little confusing, but hey, Tim Allen. That's all I can say.
It's worth a watch. Give it a
Worth a
shot,
watch.
folks. Anyways, that's the end of our segment for today. We'll be back in 2 weeks when I believe we are going to be reviewing I Spy.
Spider-Man.
And of course, we're already going to give our thumbs up to Spider-Man, so we're probably going to maybe take you on a little bit of an in-depth look into maybe the extras on the DVD. I think that's kind of the plan anyway.
Probably better than the movie itself, because everybody's heard about it. You don't do 450 million.
That's correct.
Without knowing about it.
Anyways, that's what we're going to be doing for you next 2 weeks from now, so hopefully you can join us again, and until then, the theater is closed.
Wow, that was a great piece, wasn't it, Joel?
Suck up!
I'm not a suck up.
Actually, it was a really good piece.
He was a very fair critic.
He rated so many different kinds of movies, from, I mean, Red Dragon to Punch Drunk Love. Who would have put those two together?
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. Anyways, I think it's time to introduce the next piece.
We're going to go to a commercial by Vanessa Butcher
I
of
believe
Nantucket Bucket Fried Haggis.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds pretty good.
Nantucket Bucket. All right, let's go. Wow, that was a great piece.
I want some Nantucket Bucket Fried Haggis.
And now it's going to be sports
with Cam.
MCTV Sports with Cam McLeod in the gym. Let's go. Thank you for that, Cam.
Yes, thanks.
Okay, we're going to go to a MCHS Police piece done by Mark Bergsma.
Yeah, here's that piece.
Yep, here it goes. Inspector Gadget.
Oops. You know, every time we go to commercial, you always have to have the last word.
Do not.
Yes, you do.
Okay, you're right. I do. I have a complex about that.
I'm sure. What was that again? Oh yeah, you're lonely.
Stop bringing that up. Personally, I think you're the one that's lonely. That's a shocker. Anyway, from now on, Buddha and DeWalt the movies is going to be a regular piece. We have Spy 2 coming up for us in the next show. Now we will leave you with a thought of the soldiers in Afghanistan.
We were there to do a job, and we did it. Well, war is a terrible thing, I think. If I had a great-grandson or close relative going back to war, as I did, I would worry.
Well, I remember it, of course, because of the people that I knew, people who died.
I think it's important for young people to remember that we did go to war at one time. I would hope that they remember, and I would hope that they do all they can as they become leaders to avoid war.
These mist-covered mountains are home now for me, but my home is the lowlands, and always will be. Someday you'll return to your valleys and your farms, and you'll no longer burn to be brothers in arms. Through these fields of destruction, baptisms of fire, I've witnessed your suffering as the battle reached high, and though it hurt me so bad, in the fear and the loss,